your company. Good afternoon, and thank you for your company as always with us on Africa News 24 television, your premier source for timely updates from across the continent and beyond. I'm ZAINAB OYENIYI, bringing you the latest developments in politics, sports, entertainment, and more. We begin this hour with the response of the Presidency to the accusation by the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, describing it as an attempt to stir political tension and divert attention from corruption allegations linked to his time in office. Presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga, in a statement today, said El-Rufai's actions were a calculated attempt to undermine the administration through misinformation and create an atmosphere of fear and unrest in the country. Ononuga also alleged that the former governor was trying to portray himself as a victim of political persecution by elevating personal local issues involving the Kaduna State government to the national level. The former governor had asked the National Security Advisor, Ribadu, to clarify reports of an alleged procurement of about 10 kilograms of thallium sulfate, a highly toxic chemical, by the Office of the National Security Advisor. In a letter dated January 30, 2026, El-Rufai said the substance was reportedly imported from a supplier in Poland and raised concerns over its intended use, identity of the supplier, and whether it was brought into country under an existing chemical or defense permit. It stated that the thallium salts are tightly controlled due to their toxic nature and stressed the need for clarification in the interest of public safety and democratic accountability. El-Rufai had also claimed that he listened to an intercepted telephone conversation allegedly involving Ribadu, in which he said security operatives were instructed to arrest him. The Presidency, however, maintained that Nigerians would not be misled by such claims, insisting that any corruption allegations or security concerns should be addressed through appropriate legal and institutional channels. Responding to the allegation, Ribadu denied the claim and asked the former governor to submit any evidence he may have to the Department of State Services DSS for investigation. In a related development, the National Security Advisor Ribadu has directed former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai to submit evidence to the Department of State Services over his allegation that the Office of the National Security Advisor procured about 10 kilograms of thallium sulfate. El-Rufai had, in a letter dated January 30, 2026, raised concerns over the alleged importation of the toxic chemical from a supplier in Poland, seeking clarification on its intended use, the identity of the supplier, whether it was imported under an existing permit. Thallium sulfate is a highly toxic, colorless, and odorless compound that can be lethal in small doses. In a response dated February 13, 2026, and signed by Brigadier General O.M. Adesui on behalf of the NSA, Ribadu denied the allegation, stating that his office neither procured nor initiated any process for the purchase of such material and had no intention of doing so. The NSA further disclosed that the allegation had formally referred to the DSS for comprehensive investigation, inviting El-Rufai and any other individuals with relevant information to provide evidence to assist in establishing the facts. Sources said an earlier attempt to deliver the response letter to El-Rufai's Abuja residence was unsuccessful, as security operatives reportedly declined to receive it, citing the absence of the edge security. The letter was later delivered on Sunday, with the head of security signing on his behalf. In other news, the Senate is set to reconvene plenary on Tuesday, February 17, 2026, to deliberate on key national issues. Clerk of the Senate, Emmanuel Odo, announced the development in an official notice issued to lawmakers on the directive of Senate President Godswill Akpabio. According to the notice, the plenary session will commence at 11 a.m. with all senators urged to adjust their schedules and attend as crucial decisions affecting the country are expected to be taken. The Red Chamber had earlier adjourned plenary to February 24, but reconvened last week for an emergency session to address the controversy surrounding the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026. Insecurity. The Miyetti Allah Kasu Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, has denied any involvement in banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, or Kasu rustling, insisting that it has never condoned violent activities in the country. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the national president of the association, Baba Ngel-Zama, said no court in Nigeria or abroad had ever convicted or indicted MACBAN for criminal or terrorist activity. He expressed concerns over narrative allegedly linking into association to terrorism, stressing that such claims were false, unfounded, and damaging to the integrity of a duly registered national body. According to him, MACBAN, established in 1986, operates as a legally recognized corporate entity under Nigerian law, with structures at national, state, and local levels and executives elected every 4 years. He added that the association is recognized by federal and state government as a stakeholder in livestock development, pastoral welfare, and conflict mediation. Ngel-Zama also warned that international blacklisting of legitimate organizations could lead to economic losses, trade disruption, and further marginalization of vulnerable communities. He maintained that members of the association have themselves been victims of insecurity, noting that terrorists have attacked communities, rustled cattle, displaced families, and assassinated MACBAN leaders. It disclosed that at least 8 state leaders of the association were killed by criminal elements in 2025. The MACBAN president appealed to the Senate committees on foreign affairs and on national security and intelligence to pass a resolution correcting what he described as erroneous characterization of the group. It further urged the activation of parliamentary diplomatic channels to engage the U.S. Congress constructively, warning that failure to address the issue could damage Nigeria's image, embolden sanctions-based targeting, and undermine public confidence in lawful institutions. Still on security, the federal government has warned Nigerians against illegal recruitment into foreign armed conflicts, saying those who engage in such activities do so at their own risk. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tugar said the warning in a statement issued by the ministry's spokesperson, Kimebi Ebiamfa, amid reports of Nigerians being recruited to participate in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Tugar expressed concern over the increasing cases of Nigerian citizens allegedly recruited under false pretenses, including promises of lucrative jobs, security roles, educational opportunities, and migration incentives. It disclosed that some victims were misled, coerced into signing military service contracts, and later deployed to combat zones, while others were made to sign documents in foreign languages without proper legal guidance. According to him, recruitment tactics often involve deceptive offers such as high salaries, sign-in bonuses, fast-track citizenship, and travel arrangements facilitated by intermediaries using tourist or non-military visas. The minister warned that participating in foreign conflicts outside approved government frameworks could endanger lives and violate Nigerian and international law regulating mercenary activities and foreign enlistment. He added that the federal government is working with relevant domestic and international partners to investigate the development and raise awareness about the dangers of illegal recruitment. And the President Bola Tinubu has directed his vice Kashim Shettima to lead a high-powered federal government delegation to Kano following the fire outbreak of Singa market. The President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, disclosed that This in a statement, noting that the delegation will convey the president's condolences to traders who lost goods worth billions of naira in the incident. According to the statement, the delegation will also deliver the federal government's pledge of financial support to assist victims and help facilitate the quick reopening of the market. President Tinubu had earlier spoken with Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf to express sympathy with affected traders and residents over the devastating fire. The president also ordered a comprehensive investigation into the recurring fire incident at the market, expressing concern that the latest outbreak occurred less than 2 weeks after a similar incident destroyed several shops. The fire, which began on Saturday evening and continued into Sunday morning, caused widespread destruction at Singa Market, one of Nigeria's largest food markets, leaving many traders counting their losses. Oh my God. Welcome to business. Warner Bros. Discovery is considering reopening sale negotiations with rival studio Paramount's guidance after receiving an improved takeover offer, according to a report by Bloomberg. Members of Warner Bros. Board are currently reviewing the revised proposal to determine whether it presents a better option than its existing agreement with Netflix. However, the board has not yet made a final decision and could still proceed with the Netflix deal. Paramount recently enhanced its offer by proposing a 25-cent per share quarterly payment to shareholders starting in 2027 if the deal is delayed. The company also agreed to cover Warner Bros. $2.8 billion breakup fee owed to Netflix, though it maintained its original offer price of $30 per share, valuing the deal at approximately $108.4 billion, including debt. Both Paramount and Netflix are competing to acquire Warner Bros. Due to its valuable film and television assets, including franchises such as Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, an iconic DC Comics character like Batman and Superman. Meanwhile, activist investor Ancora Holdings, which holds nearly $200 million in Warner Bros. Shares, has expressed opposition to the Netflix deal. The firm argues that the board did not fully engage with Paramount's competing offer, which includes major media assets such as CNN and TNT. Away from that, oil prices held steady on Monday as investors weighed the potential impact of renewed diplomacy between the United States and Iran against expectations of increased output from OPEC. Brent crude futures rose marginally by 3% to $67.78 per barrel in early trading, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude gained 2 cents to trade at $62.91 per barrel. There was no settlement for WTI due to the U.S. President's Day holiday. Market sentiments remained cautious following comments last week by U.S. President Donald Trump suggesting that Washington could reach a nuclear agreement with Tehran within the next month. The remarks contributed to weekly declines in both benchmarks, with Brent slipping about 0.5% and WTI dropping 1%. The two countries are scheduled to hold a second round of nuclear talks in Geneva on Tuesday as part of renewed efforts to resolve long-standing disputes over Iran's nuclear program and prevent further military escalation. According to Reuters, an Iranian diplomat indicated that Tehran is pursuing an agreement that would deliver economic benefits to both sides. Discussions are expected to cover potential cooperations in energy and mining investments, as well as aircraft purchases. On the foreign scene, 2 female Israeli soldiers were rescued by police after being chased by a crowd of ultra-Orthodox Jewish men in the city of Brak. The confrontation erupted after the soldiers were reportedly mistaken for officials attempting to deliver military conscription orders, a highly sensitive issue within the ultra-Orthodox community. Footage showed the women running through streets littered with overturned bins as police officers formed a protective barrier around them. Authorities said riot police used stun grenades to disperse the crowd and arrested 23 people during unrest. 3 officers were injured and several police vehicles were damaged, including a patrol car that was overturned and a motorcycle that was set on fire. The Israel Defense Forces later clarified that the servicewoman had been conducting an official home visit to another soldier when the incident occurred. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the attack as unacceptable, saying the government would not tolerate harm against IDF personnel or security forces. The unrest comes amid growing tensions over military conscriptions as Israel debates new legislation that could require more ultra-Orthodox men to serve, following a court ruling that ended long-standing draft exemptions for religious students. Still in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said the United States must require Iran to relinquish all of its enriched uranium and permanently halt any enrichment capability as part of any future nuclear agreement. Speaking in Jerusalem, Netanyahu insisted that all enriched material has to leave Iran and that Tehran must not retain the ability to enrich uranium. His remarks come as U.S. and Iranian officials prepare for a second round of nuclear talks in Switzerland. Iran, however, has signaled that while it is open to compromise, zero enrichment remains a red line. Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Ramvachi told journalists that Tehran is willing to dilute a 60% enriched uranium as a sign of flexibility, provided Washington is prepared to discuss lifting sanctions. It stressed that completely ending enrichment would violate Iran's right under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Meanwhile, the United States has increased military deployment in the Middle East, sending 2 aircraft carriers to the region as negotiations continue. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said President Donald Trump